Hey guys, welcome back. Another Q&A episode here for you. I believe this is video number 5 in the series of who knows how many. It'll be in the it'll be in the title actually, you'll know, but I don't at this point, and I'm still just going to keep answering questions to the best of my ability. And here we go. Matthew Prorok says, thoughts on tricep bar, football bar as a bench accessory movement and as a general tricep builder, worth doing, better movements, etc. Personally, I don't have access to one, so it's not really an option for me. I guess it would never, I don't think it's ever a waste of time to learn something, and so to do an experiment and find out if it is a great tricep builder for you, program a training block where you use it as a supplementary or an accessory movement and see if it helps your bench press and see if it helps your triceps develop. If it is, use it, and if it doesn't work as well as things that have in the past, then go ahead and swap it out for something else. I think that innovation and the willingness to experiment and learn more about your body and how it reacts to things is the best way to continue improving in the long run, and I think it's really important to not be scared of doing something that may turn out to, I don't want to say be a waste of your time, but be a learning experience where you don't have the instant gratification of, oh, I found something that worked the first time and it was awesome. That's just not going to be the case most of the time. Todd Camba asks, what's your preferred deadlift, squat, bench, accessory exercise? Is there any difference on your belt placement with your squat and deadlift? And when do you use a belt when you lift percentage-wise? Okay, so again, the accessory exercise kind of refers back up to the previous question too. It's weird that that always tends to happen. Whenever I do these Q&A videos, the topics seem to be like blocked together like that, and I'm not ordering these in any, it's just the order that they came in on the thread, so it's a fun little aversion there. As far as accessory exercises, I tend to program my accessories based on where my weaknesses are. The things that I like to keep in mind are the traits that it needs to be sports specific as the highest degree of carryover, direct carryover. You don't train a squat by a full competition squat by doing leg extensions because that's so far removed from the squat. You work your way away from it. So from a low bar maybe to a high bar to a front squat. Things, the farther you get away from the competitive movement, the less direct carryover you're going to have. Secondly, is it something that is going to be helpful in those weaknesses, and you try to program things where in the force curve of a squat or a bench or a deadlift are you weakest. Personally, I tend to have very typical stick points. I'm weak off the ground on a deadlift, I'm weak off my chest on a bench, and I'm weak out of the hole on a squat. If those are not your particular issues, then you need to program your accessory movements and your supplemental exercises to target and focus on improving the weaknesses in those force curves. But for me, things that help improve pop off the chest. I really have been getting a lot of help recently in my bench press, especially from doing pause reps right off of the chest, because I do have a tendency to want to sink the bar and rest it and then try to heave it off. Never been called for it in a competition, but it's something I'm working on, and so being able to control it like at the t-shirt range has been very helpful, even more so than doing pause reps on my chest where I'm actually just letting it sink in and touch, because that's what I naturally want to do, and so I'm trying to fight that to improve that. Pause squats for me are great because you get down into the place where you're worst at the squat, and it forces you to hold your position, keep your core positioning, and learn how to fight through some positional breakdown, because there's no worse time in your squat, at least if you're a typical lifter, than being at the bottom of it and not moving up right away. It's a sucky feeling, but if you get comfortable and you get used to holding the weight down there, you tend to squat it a little more effectively out of the hole. And as for deadlifts, I hate pause deadlifts, but that's why I do them. And conventional deadlifts, because it is pretty directly carryover, and I think the two styles and the two stances really do complement each other well, so that's what that would be. Where am I at? Sorry. Is there any difference in belt placement with a squat and a deadlift? Not particularly. I can't have my belt as high on a deadlift personally because it throws off my bracing and my mobility getting down to the bar, especially right now. But I don't put a whole lot of emphasis onto the placement. I know some people can have it really high. That has not worked for me in the experiments I've done, maybe there's an alternative to that. I do know some lifters do have differences. I know Eric Lillibridge actually pulls and squats with different belts. He has, he doesn't like, I don't remember which one. One of them he doesn't like the way that it overlaps. The lever overlaps, and so it pushes his positioning, and so he has to use a prong belt for that. But I'm not sure which one. I can't really call that out of memory right now. When you use a belt, when you lift, I use a belt. Yeah. I like to start my training cycles, I'll start this way. I like to start my training cycles in the first few training blocks with as much beltless work as possible. It keeps my intensities relatively lower, and so I can handle those without a belt. It forces me to stay on the lower end of those weights and not constantly try to push myself in max all the time. And I do have a set of beltless maxes that I keep track of, as well as my competition setup maxes. And so I think it's important to utilize both those. When you get closer to a competition, I think it's important to use more of the assistive equipment you're going to use. If you wrap your knees, you need to practice wrapping your knees. If you use a belt, you need to practice wearing a belt, because it can throw you off and become a detriment if you're not using it properly. Okay, good. Sorry, I thought my camera was freaking out for a second. So as far as percentage, I don't consider that a thing. I work up to my work sets, and I will wear a belt when I am doing my work sets, when I am in my, getting closer and closer to a meet. But until that happens, I try to go as much beltless work as possible, because I think it builds your core strength and your ability to handle heavy weights and your confidence with those weights. Daniel J Ahn Nutrition, full day of eating. Personally, and this is not a stab or anything to anybody, I get bored watching full days of eating with people, and maybe the vlog type things, like some of the people I really enjoy, Chelsea Carabin, I love you, girl, and I will watch your vlogs every single day, but like I'll watch the eating videos, but I don't have as much interest in what the people are eating. Every time I'm watching it and they're talking about the eating stuff, it doesn't interest me as fully. I like the idea of nutrition. I'll watch nutrition videos, but when it comes to if it fits your macros type stuff, you're not going to see a video like that coming from me, at least not anytime soon. And if I do that, I'm going to probably feel really awkward doing it. As far as what I try to eat, my nutrition is flexible dieting, I guess. I am not very strict with it. I have a baseline set of macronutrients that I try to hit, and every time I talk about it in a public setting, everybody tells me how wrong I am. So it's one of those things that I guess I'll just tell you, I tend to do better with my fats higher, my protein very high, and my carbohydrates moderate to lower. That's just how I tend to perform the best, and maybe that makes me an outlier, or maybe that makes me completely wrong. But I think my maintenance right now sitting around 217 or 218. I guess I don't know when you guys are going to watch this and where I'll be as far as body composition or my body weight's going to be. But right now I'm getting close to 220, and my maintenance is around 37 or 3,800, eating a lot of protein, well over 300 grams of protein. My fats are pretty high. I pretty much always am over 100 grams of fat, and my carbohydrates are relatively low compared to those two numbers, but I just use those to fill out whatever it has. I don't feel tired or like I don't have energy when my carbs are low. It's just something that maybe that's just the way I am, but I don't need a whole lot of carbs to have energy personally. So that's how that's going to go, I guess. Ashton McHardy, what is your preferred frequency for each of the big three? Do you change frequency of lifts over the duration of your training cycle depending on what phase you're in? Yes, I do. I think it's important that you don't get stuck doing the same thing all the time, not because of some silly idea of like muscle confusion, but because to progress on something you have to vary your focuses. And so if I'm building up a work capacity in one instance, I may need to bring my frequency down. If I'm not close to a meet, I generally tend to bring my frequency down because I am practicing the movements less and working on building the strength more. And when I get closer to a meet personally, I like to have more practice with the lifts, and so I do that. I know some guys like Chad Wesley Smith did his most recent meet, at least at the time of filming this video, where he did the opposite. He had high frequency, and as his intensity came up, he lowered the frequency and the volume, and went from squatting 3 times a week to 2 times a week to 1 time a week in 3-week blocks leading up to the meet with the cube kingpin method. But for me, I like to go kind of the other way. I like to start with lower frequency and then work the muscle and work the lifts kind of on their own days and separate them a little bit more, and then try to branch out and utilize the work capacity that I build in that time with more frequent lifts, and get used to the sports practice of doing something like a meet or experiencing an upper and lower day in the same time. And that's just how I like to go. I think if it came to squatting, I think optimal for me 2 to 3 times a week, at least at this point in my training. Deadlifting once or twice a week, and then benching, I need more frequency on benching. 3 or 4 times a week is pretty much where I make the best progress. Anything less than that, I tend to not progress as quickly or as well. So those for me are the case, and I know some guys, that varies for different people in your level of work capacity and recovery abilities. You know, the Lily Bridges are the complete opposite of that style of working and training, but it works for them and what they're doing, and the people in their camp would swear by it. So I think it's really a personal thing. And that's all I have time for on this video. I think I'm going to switch out my cameras here because this one looks like it's about to die on me and it's making me a little nervous. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this segment. Please stay tuned for the next one coming up, the next time I don't have a training commentary or something to give you guys. Please leave a like, rating, comment down below, share it with your friends, subscribe, all that good stuff. I hope it's been informative. I hope it's been helpful. I hope you're having a great day. Have a good night. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.